But I do know that I want to believe, which is always the problem with me with all these things. I want to believe the bases in Antarctica. I want to believe that there's pyramids up there, all that stuff.
Yeah, and when you find out something's debunked, how do you feel?
Oh,
Are you okay?
Yeah. I mean, disappointed, but...
But there's a party that goes, yeah, that's probably right.
Well, I think most of them are bullshit. I think most UFO sightings are bullshit. Most UFO sightings are probably people seeing experimental military aircraft and things along those lines. Satellites, that's a big one. Like the Starlink ones just fly across the night sky and people are like, oh my God, it's an alien.
It's not an alien. You could see him with your naked eye.
Yeah. But if you didn't know what it was, it looks like a fleet of ships flying across the sky.
And the way that they alternate lights, it looks like there's an intelligence to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen anything myself. Have you?
No. Gino has.
What did he say?
Gino saw it, and I think maybe Jeremiah said he saw the same thing. Gino saw a giant orb of light over the Pacific Ocean, and he watched it for a long time. And I said, where's the photo of it? And he said, I was so in awe, I didn't even think to get out my phone. It's like, man. But that's a common thing you hear.
Right.
Is you're just so in awe, you don't think, I got to selfie this.
Right. You probably, if you actually saw something, there's a high probability that you'd be so freaked out, you'd be just in the moment, like, what?
Yep. And, Gino's legit. He's not bullshitting.
Not a bullshit artist. Yeah. No, I've talked to Dave Foley had a sighting. He saw something.
Gino talked to Dave about, they saw the same thing.
Yeah. Well, there's always the question of, what's going on off the coast. And I'm sure you're aware of this one. We actually talked about it the other day, but we never found it. There's a structure that's off of Malibu in the deep water that was available on Google Maps.
Was a structure.
And now it's blurred out.
Yep.
But it looked like there's openings in it. There's a top that's flat. It looks like
a base.
Looks like a base.
Looks like a base.
Yeah.
If
now it doesn't.
Now it just looks like blurry water.
Yeah, why does it look different now? What's going on?
With a gun to my head, all the weird stuff is in the ocean. It's not from another planet.
Really?
Nah, I don't know. Who knows? But it makes a lot more sense that the stuff we're seeing, it's the best place to hide is just deep water.
So not from another planet originally? Maybe originally, and that's where they make their base?
It's hard for me to square how to travel great distances. It's hard for me to square that. I know that we've got the Albuquerque drive and warp drive and all these theoretical things about compressing space-time and all of that. I get it. But it's hard for me to think that that's solvable. But what is interesting is maybe another species evolved alongside of us a long time ago and has been here a long time and said, you know what, let's go. This is where we go to avoid cataclysms and geological instability. Let's go underwater.
That's a weird one, though, because what kind of technology are you utilizing? How did you achieve that level of technological superiority and not completely control man? Because if I was an intelligent species that was capable of developing bases under the water, I'd be super concerned at all the different things that human beings are doing to ruin things. If we had chimps that all of a sudden had flamethrowers and they were lighting the jungle on fire, we'd probably take their flamethrowers.
So we would turn off a nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
Right. So we talk about humans. If this theory is true that they evolved here, there were no humans. Humans are 300,000 years old. That's not. It would take whatever species a lot longer than that to evolve to this technological level. And we've seen the craft just zip into water with no displacement.
Right.
Where are they going? And there are unnamed whistleblowers, anonymous sources that say there's a base near the Bermuda Triangle. The Navy knows about it. They know not to get close. It moves around a little bit. I'm going to do an episode on it soon because it's just too good not to. Corroborated by another biologist who said he worked with the retrieval team, and yes, there's stuff. And what this base does is it from raw materials creates craft to go on specific missions. So there's always the question, why is there a saucer? Why does it look like a pyramid? Why is it this? It's because they're custom built for a mission. And there's an AI and a species down there, and they say, all right, we're going to go survey Mount Hayes in Alaska. Super, super fascinating place. So we only need a scanning gear, some propulsion, and we just build it. It fits in an orb, send it out. does its thing, comes back, and then it gets broken down to its parts. And then another mission, build it. It's going to be a triangle. It's going to be this or that. Does its mission, comes back. To me, that makes good sense. A good way to do that, a good way to conserve resources, not have to go out and get stuff. I like the theory. It's a fun theory.
It's a fun theory, yeah. It's a fun theory also that if you were creating bases here, like say if they're coming from somewhere else and they want to visit us, it would be far more logical to develop some sort of a base with resources and, where you could observe things and they can exist there completely undetected and then be able to go to wherever they're from back and forth. But when they're here on Earth, they would be undetected.
Right.
And the ocean is literally 70-something% of the Earth's surface.
And we've mapped, I think, 2 or 3% of it.
Yeah. It'd be a good place to hide in plain sight.
That's what I would do. And to make things from raw materials, meaning like molecular level stuff, you're totally off grid. We don't need to strip mine. We got everything here.
Right. And if you have something that's a transmedium vehicle, so it doesn't displace the water, it works on some sort of a warp drive or something.
I think you have to get into interdimensionality then, and it gets a little wild. But if you're not displacing air or water, that means you're phasing through matter,
right? Which
is theoretically doable because everything is mostly space.
Well, they said they've mapped things going under the water 500 knots.
Right, without making a splash.
Yeah, no ripples, no discernible waves.
Just Greg Louganis right in there. Yeah. Nothing.
500 knots under the water. I mean, what the fuck could do that? The amount of energy you'd have to go through that much resistance of deep water, 500 miles an hour, 500 knots.
Right. Look at how when they do missile tests from subs, how those things are just like, trying to get out of the water.
Yeah.
And these things just go bloop.
Yeah.
And nothing.
Well, that's the weird ones. But that would make you also think like maybe it is a hologram. Because if there are these transmedium things. But the thing is they're seeing them with radar.
Right, which means heat signature or mass.
Right.
Or electromagnetic displacement.
Or if it is some sort of photons, like some sort of a projection, would that not have some kind of a heat signature?
It would if it was ionized air. That would be plasma, so that was hot, if that's what it is. But when they go into the water, we see them under the water for a second, and you don't see any refraction.
Right.
So that kind of screws up the holographic projection theory a little bit, because there's no light refraction. So how did you do that?
Yeah.
No, I'm asking you, how do you do that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, that's my answer. Yeah.
I mean, you've had physicists on here that I've seen go,
Yeah. Well, the really crazy ones are the ones that the fighter pilots have seen. Because, particularly Commander Fravor and the other people that were on that mission with him. So 2 separate jets. You have 4 people that are eyewitness to this thing. And then that there was something actually under the surface of the water, like an aircraft carrier, an enormous thing, that this Tic Tac is hovering above. And then that thing descends into the water. The Tic Tac turns towards them, jamming their signal, is hovering in space, and then shoots off at such an insane rate of speed that most of the things that we have on Earth would just disintegrate and fall apart just from the sheer pressure.
Of course, and from the inertia, it can be done. Now, if I were doing an episode on Tic Tac or Go Fast or Gimbal, I would be remiss if I didn't include Mick West's analysis of those. And I know you've talked to Mick on and off throughout the years.
He's like a professional debunker.
He is.
He wants to debunk things that I don't think can be debunked.
He does. He approaches it as it's definitely fake, and I'm going to show you why.
Yeah, everything is definitely fake. Almost to the point where I'm like, who are you working for?
Right.
Who are you working for?
Everyone thinks we're CIA, by the way.
Me and you?
Oh, yeah. Reddit is convinced I'm CIA.
Oh.
That's,
Me too?
That's why my channel blew up in 2.5 years.
Because of CIA?
CIA is back.
Oh, I've heard that before. I've heard that about many people. Like the reason why they got successful. I've heard that about me too.
Yeah.
But like go back to 2009 where I have 200 viewers. Like the CIA sucked back then. They weren't helping me at all.
Dude, I remember just watching you in little squares on Ustream, just like the top of your head,
Yeah.
and Brian and Duncan.